existing debris at the rear of the site. So in quick summary, the main changes that we've implemented in this revised plan are the addition of perimeter curbing along the outside of the parking lot with curb cuts, as well as a swale in this planted area to help to capture and direct stormwater runoff to the wooded area down in the southeast portion of the site. We've also provided for additional landscaping along the Route 130 frontage and within the interior of the site. Previously, these landscape islands were not provided. These were just striped pavement areas. But to satisfy the request for curb, we put that on the outside as well as the inside and provided some additional landscaping to help buffer the building and any mechanical equipment that sits outside of the building. And as I mentioned before, working with the township engineer, there was concern about debris at the back of the site. The decision, or basically the plan that we came up with through help with Fred, was a revised demolition and grading plan. So generally, the plan is to excavate approximately 3 to 4 feet of existing debris from the site and replace it with clean soil, and also raise grade at the back of the site to provide a graded landscape berm. So the idea with the berm is more or less twofold. It helps solve the issue here. It helps promote stormwater runoff into this wooded area, keeping everything on site. And it also provides a significant buffer to the residential properties on the south side of the property, to the south of the property. In addition to the berm, placed along the top of the berm is a 6-foot vinyl fence and significant plantings to help bolster that buffer. Basically looking to minimize any headlight glare from the cars that are parked here from protruding onto the site down here. And then in addition to additional landscaping to help keep light and buffering on site, the lighting design was revised to provide for house-side shields on the area lights. So basically, there's going to be shields behind each of these lights that are along the perimeter of the site to help keep all the light on the property. In addition, we also revised the building-mounted lights to be downlit as opposed to a spotlight that was kind of pointing out at an angle. So all with the intent of keeping the site on itself and minimize any spillover to the adjacent properties. So as I mentioned, we did have the benefit of revising and resubmitting to address the township engineer's comments. In his latest review letter, there are a few outstanding comments, but the applicant is agreeable to work with the township engineer to address those. Those include working with the applicant's architect to revise the sign, specifically prohibiting the consumption of cannabis or cannabis-related products on site. I think the sign that we provided wasn't sufficient. We have no problem revising and resubmitting to address the comment. And then in addition to all of that, we do agree to comply with the outstanding comments to revise the sidewalk detail and to provide additional notation on the plans related to environmental site assessment requirements. And those include a note that there should be a completion of a ACM or asbestos abatement prior to building renovations, including demolition. And then also the disposal of the existing above-ground storage tank, and any encountered underground storage tanks or petroleum or PCB-containing products, all in accordance with state regulations. So that's not currently on the plans, but those notes will be added to the revised plans that will be submitted upon favorable action by the board. So in short, those are the updates and the improvements that we made to the plan. We have no issues complying with the conditions set forth in the preliminary approval, and also working with the township engineer to address any of his outstanding comments.
Mr. Chairman, if I could, please. They have addressed the majority, if not all, of our comments. There was one item that we didn't go through, and that is a section of Woodview Road goes onto their property. So they've agreed to provide an easement, I assume?
Correct.
And you're going to provide legal descriptions, et cetera. However, before you do that, obviously you would need some kind of an authorization or coordination with our township council. So that action would have to go through the township in some regard to the township council, to speak to the township council.
Yes, we would reach out to the township attorney
Okay.
and get that done.
All right, okay. And then we would need legal descriptions and
Yes.
so forth, okay? All right.
Yep.
That's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Any other questions from the board?
Yes.
Mr. Engineer, on that berm for Woodview Road, if in time it degrades, will company address that over the time frame if it degrades?
Yep, yeah, that's no problem. That'll be accomplished through general maintenance. The idea with the berm is it'll be stabilized with mulch and sod and seed to help from preventing that issue, but if that becomes an issue, I don't see
And you
that.
feel that the berm will address the flooding issue?
Correct. Basically what we did to address that concern is, instead of allowing all the stormwater runoff to sheet flow off the pavement directly into the grass, we've concentrated those into curb cuts intermittently at the edge of the curb. And then there's a swale graded into here that basically routes the stormwater into this wooded area.
And there's no intent for a retention pond of any type?
That's correct.
There's no intent?
no intent.
All right. Thank you.
Okay, I guess this could be my turn. So I have a question concerning, so the back area where you put in the berm, which Bill was just discussing, I've been to that area. As far as when you go to do the cleanup, what preparations do we have? Because it's obviously going to disturb the road and the residents going in and out. Because
Well, so
that goes all the way pretty much to that road.
the intent with our limit of disturbance is to remain within our property boundary, and that cleanup to remove the debris and basically replace it with this berm should be able to take place entirely within the property.
So you'll pull all the material back?
You're going to pull it back?
No disturbance?
I've been back there, and it's like, it looks like layers of trash. Like,
Yeah,
it's-
so-
And the fence is the only thing holding it back, and it looks to me like the easiest way. I just don't want it to end up being, well, you know what, the easiest way is to get out on the road and then push it that way.
Understood. So you're concerned with construction means and methods, basically?
Yes.
Gotcha.
In that particular area, like I said, I physically went to the site, I saw it.
Yeah.
It's just a chain link fence holding back an immense amount of debris.
Rich, could you put a note on the plan that just says there'll be no disturbance or interference with the roadway, the public roadway?
Yeah, that's,
All activities occur on site, from site.
yeah, that's no problem, and I think, there's a requirement to have a pre-construction meeting as well, so I'm sure that can be discussed. So we'll throw a note right in here,
Yeah.
and that'll force the conversation at the pre-construction meeting.
Perfect. Okay. And then I had an earlier concern, I took a look at the map as far as with the car wash next to it and making sure we have enough. But then when I looked at the other map here, and I'm going to ask Joe down there, I'm looking at the picture. So the in and out for our fire vehicles in the event that they need to get in and out, it looks like there's a little bit of a tight spot if we were to try to slide that down a little. I know we talked prior to the meeting. You see where I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Where, so there's the car washes next door and the line, sometimes they spill out onto the road right there.
Okay.
My thought was maybe we could push that down, but now looking at the map, it might be a little tight with, so I'm gonna turn that over to you, Joe.
With the apparatus ladder, get a hook ladder on one side, should be down a little bit, gives us a little bit wide open. So we can get it.
Are you concerned with that, with that particular spot? Because like I said, I'm looking at the diagram, second to last page of our thing, and it actually, we have a picture of it, and you'll see that it actually kind of chokes down where you go to make the turn to get back out onto Route 130. Are you guys satisfied with that turn?
Yeah, that's not gonna be an issue.
Okay.
Okay. Sounds like you worked it out.
Yep. Took care of it for you.
Yeah,
Appreciate it.
that'll be fine.
Go ahead.
Any other questions? From the board?
Yeah, I got a question.
Okay.
So to our professionals, we think the wooded area, that's going to be enough to prevent the flooding? There's not going to be any more flooding or anything?
That's correct. They've also reduced the impervious. They've contained it on site where now it washes down the road back to the residents. It's now going to be contained in that swale,
Yeah.
which will go into that large depression. And there's zero right now. There's zero retention, and that will prevent the flooding there. Yes,
Okay.
sir.
Yeah.
Any other questions from the board members?
Did anybody ever test to see how much debris is actually back there? Because the last testimony, I think, was like anywhere between 8 to 10 feet deep of material that was stored back there. So if you're only going to dig out 5 feet of it, what about the rest of it?
I believe their testimony is they're going to remove all of the material down to
correct.
native soil, correct?
That's correct.
correct.
Yeah, I know you met with Robert.
We met on site, we did some samples, but again, we did not sample the whole site. The site could be like this for all we know underground. But the note should be on the plan, and it should be very clear that you're removing all of the material that's not native.
Yeah, no, that'll be coordinated with.
And apparently, they're still filling as of this week, so it's a shame.
Mr. Chairman,
Any other questions?
if I may. They address most of our planning items, just a few, the security plan, just the status of that security plan.
The security plan? I believe it was discussed at the prior hearing that we would work that out with the professionals, but not submit it as a public record, just because, given the nature of it being a security plan. So that's still our intent, as it relates to the security plan.
Yeah, I think the testimony was that they were going to work that out with the police department. That's my understanding. And that can be, obviously, a condition, it should be.
The only other item was how waste would be stored
So the,
internally and, how you manage it.
right, so the waste, given its cannabis products, any waste will be stored inside the building and then picked up within this secured loading area and hauled off by a private hauler.
So that includes all waste.
Correct.
Is that correct? All waste inside, waste and recycling?
I think that's mainly all that I have, Mr. Chairman.
Any other questions from the board? I'd like to request a motion to open to the any comments from the public.
So moved. I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? All right. It's open to the public for any comments.
I didn't really get to see the board the way it was mentioned.
Excuse me, sir? Sir?
First, we need to get your name.
sorry.
Yeah.
Michael Sinchenko. I'm a resident on Woodview Road. I own house 2 and 11.
Could you spell your name, sir?
Sienczенko.
Thank you.
All right, so I own the house that's directly behind said structure. It sounds like most of what we were trying to, well, aside from having it put in the first place, sounds like they've addressed a lot of the issues we had. I do have two questions, possibly three. As far as that swale and that said retention pond, that thing has not been maintained in a long, long time, and it's filled in quite significantly. And for them to just push the water in their parking lot into what's left of it, it's going to fill up pretty rapidly, and it's going to overflow. I mean, they have to excavate that retention pond. They have to dig it out. It's got trees growing in it. I mean, it hasn't been maintained, and I have no idea. I've been there 12 years, and it's never been touched, and I've never seen water in it. So with the amount of asphalt that they're going to add and with the extra runoff, that pond is going to fill in very fast, and it will overflow. So it needs to be excavated, cleaned up, probably opened up more to allow as much water into it as possible, because once it fills, it's going to just spill right back into a road. That would be one of the issues. I mean, right now, it's maybe 2 or 3 feet deep, and that's not enough. As far as the fence, as long as the fence height, basically, I guess, as the cars are entering the parking lot, the fence is high enough to block the view of the lights. because I don't know where the parking lot is going to end as far as they're excavating, how high the parking lot's going to be in relationship to the house. So, I mean, I don't know if a 6-foot fence or a 5-foot fence is going to be satisfactory, because I don't know where their parking lot height's going to be at the end result. Because my house is way below their parking lot right now. Well, I would say I would say approximately 3 to 4 foot, but my windows are pretty elevated, so they're going to be right in a pretty good shot of their parking lot. And I'm not, like I said, I don't know how high if they're going to bring the parking lot up or they're going to bring it down. So I need a little bit, I would like to have a little bit more information pertaining to that. I mean, is this fence going to satisfy that problem, or is it just going to mask a part of it? Now, is the fence going to block off the perimeter of the back of the property, or is it just going to be one wall straight across Woodview?
Sorry, to answer some of your questions here. And it may help to just rotate this towards you so that you can see it. So I guess I'll take the second question you had first. The parking grade right now is at or about an elevation of 84, and that's consistent with existing conditions. We're not raising the grade of the parking lot significantly. The intent is more or less like a mill and overlay, basically scrape the old pavement, restore it with fresh pavement. So for the most part, this area, the pavement is at an elevation of 84, whereas the top of the berm, which is this area right here, is at an elevation of 86. We're proposing a 6-foot high fence, a thick vinyl fence. So that brings your top of your fence to an elevation of about 92. So you've got about 8 feet from the top of the fence to the bottom of to basically the parking lot grade. So this right here is an 8-foot wall that is helping to buffer lighting from this property to your property. And then over time, as these plantings start to grow, I mean, we do show about 5 trees here that over time will grow and help with that, help with any lighting that may make it over. And then there's going to be plantings up against the fence on the top of the berm as well. So that's what we've put together to help address.
Where's the fence start and where does it end?
So it's tough to see, but this is the start of the fence, and then it goes all the way to the end of the berm there. So more or less along the entire back.
It is just a segment. It's just a segment.
Okay, so here's my other concern with the fence. Because of the type of element you're bringing in here, you're going to have, that's a very private, isolated area behind there with the trees and the fence. And I almost believe that you're going to invite those elements to go back there and do whatever they do. And it's not securing them from coming into our road. So they can just walk through the back of your parking lot onto our road and do what they do.
So there will be signage placed that prohibits the consumption of the cannabis products on site. And in addition to that, I mean, I may not be correct in this, but my understanding is that consumption of cannabis in New Jersey is legal on private property. So I would imagine that people would be deterred from, buying something at the building here and then going to the back of the site to consume it and partake in it. That's.
No. I've already seen this. I've already checked out other sites, and it's being done right in the parking lot. So, except our situation is a little bit more private. I mean, we're not at the back of a commercial property. This is a residential neighborhood. I mean, our other issue is going to be, are they going to drive into our road because it is very quiet? There's not a lot of traffic back there. It looks very enticing to that sort of element. I mean, I've already seen this in action. I mean, these guys still smoke in the car, they smoke it in the parking lot, you know, regardless of the signage. All right, so you can say that it's not gonna happen, but it's gonna happen. It's happening. You're not gonna tell me it's not, because I can prove it. So, I mean, my concern is to try to keep them from having any kind of access beyond your property line.
I guess I would look to the board for thoughts or ideas on how that
Well,
may be.
they are going to submit a security plan. One thing I can tell you about cannabis dispensaries is that they're not only do they have to have cameras internally within the store, it's got to be out in the parking lot as well. So they'll be able to monitor their property, and I think they want to be good neighbors.
Just because you have cameras doesn't mean that you're going to use them. I mean, just because they're there doesn't mean somebody's viewing it entirely the whole time. You're not going to have somebody standing in front of the camera the whole time you've got customers in and out. I mean, they always, and my buddy, a friend of mine works at one of these places. And when they say they're going to hire 12 people, they usually only hire 6. If they're going to have 3 security guards, they only have 1 or 2. I mean, they never, ever fulfill what they claim, never. You can tell me you're going to have 20 people working there, but chances are it's going to be more like 10. That's a fact. You make it look impressive up front, but then everything gets cut back because it comes down to dollars. So who's going to be monitoring the camera system when you have customers there?
Well, I think any good business, when they have security cameras, they do monitor them because
Yeah, at the end of the night, if there's a complaint,
that security footage is available to the Delran Township Police Department, and if they're not enforcing the requirements of the security plan, they could have some problems with Delran Police.
so I've got to police it too then. Every time I have to, if there's a problem, I've got to complain about it.
Isn't that true with anything that happens on anyone's property? If someone breaks the law, you sometimes have to call the police.
Well, I'm
I don't
just,
think that's gonna happen either. I'm just saying, that's a possibility.
I'm just saying because this is the type of thing that draws that type of element into the area. You're introducing a bad element. I don't care how you slice it.
Let me ask a question. How much more would it take to just enclose the property with a fence continuing at least around? Is it much more?
I don't think so. I mean, that's, if we were to continue this for the length of the landscaping.
Anything to prevent, them to walking onto the road or, walking back there.
Because, I mean, it is a residence, and I know I'm familiar with the area because I walked it as well. It's a very secluded area, and it's like, almost like a private.
It's very private. It's like, it's almost unheard
For
of.
them to feel comfortable, maybe it'll be worthwhile.
That was brought up the first time it came up here. I mentioned it about bringing the white vinyl fence all the way up to the front to block the driveway, so that way there's no access
Yeah.
from the sides or anything, so.
Because as it stands right now, people miss my road or they try to do turnarounds and they will cut right across that front corner where your entrance is, your first entrance. And they'll drive back and forth over that piece of grass.
Well, I was just thinking about that because you mentioned somebody maybe taking the turn and coming down their road. Can we do some sort of a lighted exit and entrance at the start of the property?
Yeah, so we actually do have area lights here and here, and those are in addition to what's currently out there today. Today, it's really just the building that has lights
Right.
coming off.
No,
of
I'm
it.
just curious if maybe we put a small lighted sign right there on 130 that's enter and or exit, entrance, however you want to put it, and then exit on the other side.
Is
think our
that
concern
going
is
to
we're
be,
not-
because right now, there's no curb on the entrance, not by the roadside,
Well,
but
they're
along the
addressing-
grass.
They are addressing
This
the
will be
curbing.
curbed.
That will be
They're
curbed, because
addressing curbs,
that'll
so
be a
that's gonna
deterrent too.
Right.
I mean, they're less likely to drive over that, and then it's just a question of them walking past that.
You can look into doing the fence.
Look at
I
doing the fence all the way up.
don't think continuing the fence
Right.
is going to be a problem, and to your point, there will be curb here. I guess you might be suggesting directional signage to
Yes.
enter and exit. I will say that there is this freestanding sign here that's gonna be repurposed that will call attention to the building.
Okay.
And then, like I said, the aerial lights here will help light up the site so that it's a bit more obvious that they need to turn in here instead
Right,
of.
I think that was one of his concerns, is because their road is very close in proximity to the entrance to that property, so, I mean, I'm glad to hear that we've got the curbing that's gonna keep them from driving across, because I'm sure they pull in your road and then make a left and kind of go across that
Oh, yeah,
grass and pull in.
and vice versa. I mean, even the mailman does it. I mean,
Even if if it helps for us to continue the plantings here, I don't see that that's an issue either. That could help further deter
Yeah,
people from.
just to try to differentiate the two properties would be helpful.
So you had
just
mentioned-
don't bring anything out too far, because then we're going to have an obstructive view trying to turn on the 130.
Right. Well, yeah, I mean, we wouldn't go, what we would plant wouldn't be anything that's higher than, say, 3 feet, so that you could see over it in your vehicle. It would just be there as another obstacle, basically.
And the other issue is, again, I know that it's kind of been resolved, but we haven't hit the winter season yet, is the car wash and the traffic that's going to happen. That's going to be a big problem. You're so close to them that there's going to be backups, and that blocks our road
I see that they're being directed now.
right now. But when they start filling up in the winter,
They used to be in the street, and I was always against it. But I got them, that it's a different group now. So, but now, they're not backing up. I don't
Now,
know.
they have
Can you-
but like I said,
They have 3 or 4 lanes there now.
they have 2 lanes right now. I've seen it, I've witnessed it, but this is like they've done this after the fact. We haven't seen the season hit yet.
But he can also enforce.
We can also enforce that.
Mhm.
They should not be backing up down the street.
Because it's dangerous at that point. You know, and then with you guys saying, what'd you say, like 20 or 25 cars per hour? I think that's what you were calling for?
That's during our peak hours, anticipated peak hours, which are basically 4 to 9 PM on Friday and Saturday evenings, which is typically different from what you'd expect with a car wash. Most car washes.
Yeah, the car wash would be during the day.
Right.
I mean, I'm not going to fight, I'm not going to try to make a stink about that. I'm just really concerned about the traffic situation. I just want that to be resolved because it's really dangerous. I mean, for us, trying to get in and out of the road. And with now your business there, that could complicate it even more. We're going to know. I mean, the first time we get snow or salt on the road, you're going to see it firsthand, because that's when that place gets packed. It gets backed up all the way almost to ShopRite.
Last planning, when we initially talked about this, was not just a concern for you guys, but also for them, because they're gonna block your property.
Yeah, it's going to hurt your business as well,
People are not gonna be able to get out.
or in.
Before we move on, could I just ask a question? You had mentioned about the fence being extended. Could you just give us an idea for the record what you were
Sure.
talking about, where you would extend it to and from?
So, right now, the fence starts here, continues straight,
Sure.
turns an angle, and then ends here.
Mhm.
We would just, more or less, just run parallel against this property line within that landscaped area.
Okay.
And what about the corner going up to the retention pond?
So we would actually prefer to keep that open, only because the swale, the way that's designed, is to point water that way. The fence would be an impediment to that, so.
Is there a way that you could kind of pull it around part of the retention pond to,
The fence back here?
is there a fence, is there going to be a fence there too?
No, the fence, sorry, turning this thing. The fence currently ends here, right before the wooded area.
Mm-hmm. But I'm saying they could walk around that.
They can make it as long, they can always walk around.
Well, yeah, I know, but I mean, it's in the back corner right there. I mean, that's the prime spot, that whole back section.
You don't want to deter the water, the runoff either.
No, but I mean, they could put a piece of chain link or something across that area, or something just to make sure that they can't walk through.
I mean, so you're suggesting something that instead of coming up this way, would continue back this way?
Yes.
I mean, if, you know, if that's a sticking point, you know, it's something we can consider. I don't know that it's absolutely necessary with the wooded area here. I mean,
Well, it's not, I mean, it's going to be the retention pond, and there's not a lot of trees there. And technically, I don't know where your property ends, if it's right up to the edge of the retention pond. I'm not sure where the road on that side ends, because it kind of tucks back behind the retention pond. It's like a dead-end section.
the road continues there.
Yeah, but there's a piece of road that goes off that back corner alongside the retention pond.
Yeah, there's a right-of-way, it's called, the same name as your road, unfortunately, that extends behind the car wash. Yep.
Because, yeah, it's hard to look, I mean, if I looked on a Google map, it looks a little bit cleaner. It gives you a better idea of what that road does, and, I mean, right now, that whole corner right there is kind of open.
Do have a different aerial image.
You're talking about the corner between the wooded area?
So, yeah, that wooded area or retention pond area, and where it turns back down to our house, or our houses. Yeah, that's probably the better view.
That's not that much better, unfortunately. It's basically the same. This is,
Yeah, but see, right here, there's a road, you can see it going into the woods here. I mean, you can't see it out here, obviously, the trees are covering it. But this is, right in here, this is pretty open. I mean, there's trees here, but it's sparse. There's not a lot there. So if you would try to
So
take,
you can still walk through there?
yes, yes.
Wouldn't you have like a chain link fence?
See, right now, their chain link fence prevents that. But it,
Currently a chain link fence there?
well, that's what's holding up the debris. But it goes up to the retention pond and then back out their, their side of the property.
Couldn't you have a chain link fence like above the swale in that one
Yeah.
little area and then have them?
that's what I was
Get
thinking.
past, but then the water still could get past. It'd be better for both.
Yeah, you can even elevate it above the swale just to, so they, the water can go under it.
Yeah, I think the applicant would probably prefer to do something like that, an open fence that allows water.
I'm fine with that. I'm just trying to make sure that there's as much deterrent from anybody trying to walk back there as possible.
Okay. Yeah, I think we can cover that.
So black vinyl chain link fence,
Right.
4 feet high?
Yeah, that should do it.
Or we want 6
All right.
feet high? Would you want 6 feet high or 4 feet high?
I'd rather 6 feet.
6 feet high, okay.
6 foot's better.
Actually, that's also good for you on a liability issue. Because
Security.
if you get somebody goes back there and they walk into that retention pond and drown, I mean, you're leaving it wide open right now.
And should there be some signage on there too? Private property, do not cross, that type of
Yeah,
term?
that should help.
Okay.
Put that right in the middle over here.
Good idea.
Yeah.
And since we're pointing in that area, the last area I want to talk about is this, the retention pond and what we need to do to widen it, deepen it. Maybe put, put there
So I guess that goes back to your first question. As Fred had mentioned earlier, we are reducing impervious coverage on site by approximately 16,000 square feet. So that's an improvement. There will be less runoff.
so there's less parking lot.
Correct. Basically, this whole area is impervious under existing conditions. That's getting ripped up and replaced with plantings and the swale. I think hearing your point about the fact that you're citing that this area is, I guess, overgrown and messy, I mean, the applicant can agree to do some grubbing and clearing of that area?
There's some deadfall, there's.
Right.
It's washed in over the years.
Can we-
And
can-
It's probably in our benefit to clear that out before we start, sending.
I would also ask that when you're looking at the grade, right now, it looks like it potentially could go down your wood Woodview, is that the right name? I'm sorry. Is it
Woodview.
Woodview.
There could be some minor adjustments to make it go down the other Woodview and behind the homes.
Yeah, and maybe even, maybe make a drainage off of that side of their.
In the right of way, right, in the
Right here.
on the paper
Well, 'cause
street.
right now, this is all high with all the debris, so
Yeah.
it's either here or here, it's all rolling off onto the road. And they're
But
used to, we actually at one time.
Yeah, that runoff will only be on that grass surface.
Mhm.
There's not a lot of water coming off of there, and we would hope that a nice thick turf would be there. The berm,
Absorb a lot of it.
yeah, the berm is acting twofold. One, to block the headlights, then to put the fence on top of, and the other is to block stormwater from going toward the homes.
So the
That
berm
was the whole
is
purpose.
there to push the water towards the retention ponds.
That's correct. The only water that you'll get is the water that falls from the top of the berm down the lawn.
And the grass
So
should
it would
catch
be
a lot of
minimal.
that.
Yeah, it would be minimal.
The grass and the clean soil that we're replacing.
Right.
debris with.
There'll be topsoil, right, I'm sure. I don't know what the 5 or 6 inch of topsoil is,
Mhm.
like you would have in your yard.
So essentially, what, is this all gonna be open now? Because right now, the fence is literally right on the road's edge right now.
That would be, yeah, so this fence is coming off, and this will be the fence that defines the rear.
So this would be like just like a grassy easement here? So that would be, aesthetically, it'll look a lot better than looking at all that garbage they got there. You know, I'd rather look at a white fence and grass than what's there now. There's trash hanging out of it, it's horrible.
Since you mentioned white fence, we're going to use an earth tone fence, is that correct?
Okay, sure.
There you go.
Yeah, earth tone, that's even better. Camouflage.
All right, it seems like most of your concerns have been addressed by the fencing and by the, going up to 130 and into the retention pond area. Is there anything else?
No, I mean, that's pretty much it. I mean, I just want to keep our road secure and as quiet as it is, keep it that way.
All right, the secretary asked if you could please write your name down on the pad there and your address.
You want me to write both addresses or just the one that's directly behind
Just
it?
the one. Just the one. Is there any other member of the public that wishes to address the board? Seeing no hands, motion to close public? All in favor? All opposed? Ayes have it. It's closed.
So if the board wishes to entertain a motion, the conditions I would have outlined is that they comply with recommendations in our board engineer and planners reports, engineer report September 23rd, 2025, and August 18th, 2025 planners report. And specifically with regard to those reports, they submit the easement and legal descriptions to the town council for approval for the section along Woodville Road. Add a note to the plans that the berm installation, there'll be no disturbance on the roadway, all disturbance on site. Remove all soil as part of the cleanup of the area of soil to be removed. Waste will be stored inside the building and removed by a private hauler. Extend earth tone fencing parallel to Woodview Road property area, and add chain link fence.
Chain link fence, 6 foot high.
6 foot high chain link fence along the berm.
Chris, could I interrupt you just on the fencing? Because when the plan
Yeah.
comes to Chris and I
Sure.
want to make sure we're real clear on where these fences will be. I understand
Fair
the
enough.
6-foot-high vinyl fence, the solid fence. That's going to
Yes.
be extended across the berm toward the wooded area, correct? But where will this chain link fence start and end? That's what I'm a little unclear of. I'm sorry.
The way I understood
Okay.
the additional fence, the earth tone vinyl
Right.
that's on top of the berm over here would continue up.
Up, okay.
toward you. The black chain link would basically build off the vinyl and continue here.
Up to
the
there,
property
okay.
line.
Yep.
Thank you.
And clean out the retention pond.
Clean out retention pond, okay. And again, the purpose of a final approval is to make sure it's substantially consistent with the preliminary approval. That they've addressed the conditions of the preliminary approval.
Okay, any other comments from the board? All right, take a motion to approve the the final approval of Rooted and Delran.
I'd like to make a motion to approve it with all the notes that Chris just stated.
Second?
I'll second that.
Need a roll call?
Yes.
Mr. Luneman?
Yes.
Mr. Parento?
Yes.
Mr. Giles?
Yes.
Mr. Ozdemir?
Yes.
Mr. Moore?
Yes.
Mr. Spitch?
No.
Mr. Buzzy?
Yes.
Mayor Hutchins?
Yes.
And Mr. Paris?
Do I have a vote on this?
Yes, you would be the ninth vote, so yes.
Yes.
Thank you.
The
So,
application's been approved.
applications. Okay. All right, thank you, gentlemen. The next thing on the agenda is Zacate LLC Retail Cannabis Dispensary, 4037 US Route 130 South, Block 9, Lot 41.24, PN 2025-06, amendment to condition of approval of resolution PP 2023-04.
Yes, good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. To briefly introduce myself, my name is Peter Chicanius. I am an attorney at the law firm of Highland Levin Shapiro, located in Marlton, New Jersey. My office represents the applicant, Zacate LLC. This is a very, very simple application. On or about April 6th of 2023, the applicant received minor site plan and conditional use approval to operate a 3,427 square foot Class 5 retail cannabis dispensary at the property, which is located at 4037 US Route 30 South. And they were granted that approval pursuant to resolution number PP 2023-04. One of the conditions of that application, specifically on page 7, paragraph 4 of that resolution, was that the applicant have an armed security guard at the dispensary during all hours of operation. The establishment has been open. It's been in operation for approximately 2 years. Business is going well. And what we're here to do tonight is very simple. We're here to potentially, if it pleases the board, to remove the condition requiring the armed security guard on site. And that's really it. I wish I had more to say. We attorneys sometimes love to speak. We think we're not doing our job if we don't, but that really is the bulk of what we're doing. We do have 3 witnesses here tonight, one of whom is going to be providing the bulk of the direct testimony. The gentleman's name is Eric Woodkey. The other individuals are Ellie Siegel and Jen Delikas, the latter of whom is the general manager of the dispensary. They do not anticipate testifying directly with respect to this application. However, they're here to make sure that any of the board's questions that they might have can be answered by the appropriate individual. But we do believe that Mr. Woodkey can answer most, if not all, of those questions. I'm going to bring him up to discuss why he feels that the armed security guard, why the applicant feels that the armed security guard is simply unnecessary, to discuss the other elements of the security plan to assuage any of the board's concerns, and we'll take it from there. So, Mr. Woodkey?
Thank you. So help me God.
So, Eric,
Can you spell your last name real
Sure.
quick?
It's W-U-D-T-K-E.
All right, so Eric, very briefly, discuss your role at Zacate LLC, what you do there, why you're here testifying here tonight, and we'll take it from there.
Sure, I'm a chief legal officer. I work with the operator of the store, and I oversaw the development of all of the SOPs, all of the plans and applications for the company. I testified before this board in 2023 when we came for our first hearing.
Okay. And the site has been operating, I think you said, for approximately 2 years, correct, since it was approved?
It will be 2 years next year,
Okay.
in the spring.
Okay, great. And then, as far as I know, the security plan is largely the same as it was before, and we're not proposing any other changes to the site, are we?
Correct. We are not proposing any other changes beyond the removal of the armed guard. And in fact, when the security plan was modified and provided to the police department, I realized that the bulk of the security measures, in fact, all of the security measures, but for the armed guard, have remained the same, including, as the board is, I'm sure, aware by now, having reviewed several cannabis applications, 24-hour monitored video surveillance of the interior and exterior of the premises, silent alarms, which go directly to the police department, controlled access points throughout the facility. All of these security measures that are state mandated are remaining in place. And in our experience operating the store now for a year and a half, going on 2 years, all of those mandated security measures have given the store the ability to operate effectively, efficiently, and within the, guidance and oversight of the CRC, we've had no issues on that end either.
And you discussed some of the control measures within the building. Can you elaborate on that a bit?
Sure. All access points into the building are controlled during business hours. The front door obviously is open for customers, but at the point where a customer enters the business, their ID is checked by an individual. Currently, it is an armed security guard. Moving forward, that would be an employee of the dispensary who is checking the identification of the customer. From there, the customer has access to the dispensary floor, but all secured areas beyond the point of sale are secured by key card access, and there's a second key card access door to access the secure vault, and those measures have been in place since we become operational.
And those are state mandated measures?
Correct. All areas that contain cannabis products must be controlled access. That's state mandated, and that's the way the facility was designed.
And if you could just briefly describe to the board why you think the facility can operate as it has without the armed security guard, why you think it's unnecessary?
Sure. We've had no incidents that required the intervention of law enforcement. In fact, operating multiple dispensaries across multiple states, we've experienced no incidents that would have required such a law enforcement presence, and I think the same has been true here in Delran. The site is located in a strip center. Our security measures and full surveillance have given the ownership and staff the comfort with the site location. And the fact that access is controlled to those secure areas is really the, I think, major point that the operation will continue as it has, because none of those security measures have anything directly related to any security presence.
And you mentioned 24-hour surveillance. Basically, the cameras both inside and outside of the store are running around the clock.
That's correct.
How often would you say those are monitored by actual, human beings taking a look and seeing what's going on in and outside of the site?
I can tell you that I look at those cameras daily, and I review any incident that has come up and has given me a motion detector over the night, and I know that at least one other individual in our organization is reviewing those cameras daily as well. And that's in addition to the monitoring that is done by the professional security monitoring company who does monitor those cameras as a service to the dispensary.
Elaborate on that a bit more, if you can, the security company that also takes a look at that. to
Sure.
describe that relationship.
So outside of business hours, any motion detection or sound detection on any camera inside or outside of the dispensary triggers a alert to the security company, who then reviews the footage immediately, and if anything has popped up that would cause an alert, there are 3 individuals associated with the dispensary locally and at the corporate level who receive those alerts immediately to address any concern that may arise.
Absolutely. And this security plan, you're familiar with all of its details. It was prepared under your supervision, correct?
Correct.
And you worked, I think, with a consulting company as well?
And initially, to develop the initial security plan, correct.
What was the name of the security, the consulting?
The Sapphire Risk Advisory Group.
Okay. And are they the same company that reviews the cameras at night, or is it a different?
It's a different company.
What's the name of that company?
Securitas.
Oh, Securitas, okay. I actually know that they're the security guards over at Seton Hall, where I went to college, so that's interesting. I think that covers a lot of what I had intended to ask Mr. Woodkey, but of course, we're open to questions from the board.
Yeah, just a couple quick questions for you. Just because I received an email on Monday, you submitted the updated security plan to Chief Gasper.
Yes, we did.
Okay, and Chief Gasper, I received an email from the chief saying, Chris, I've reviewed their updated security plan and see no issues. I believe they're scheduled for this month's meeting. If you need anything further from me, let me know. So the chief has examined the security plan. And in the submission to the chief, it says the only change they've made is the elimination of the armed security. Everything else remains the same under the previously approved security plan.
That's correct.
We would agree.
Okay. Just as a clarification, you're changing from an armed security guard to a regular non-armed security guard. You're not eliminating any guards, correct?
No, the goal is to eliminate the security guard altogether.
Altogether?
Yes.
Correct.
So I have a question. Since the cannabis dispensaries have been legalized, has there been any studies in New Jersey on incidences that have happened in dispensaries? Like, do we know, is there a study? I mean, I don't know how long it's been. It's been probably a year or two of,
That's perfect. So we have Ms. Ellie Siegel who's going to testify as to that. We'll have her sworn in, and just briefly, before you get into that, describe your relationship with the applicant, and we'll go from there.
Sure.
Okay, Ellie, do you swear from the testimony you give tonight is the true stuff you got?
I do.
So quickly, just first, before you get into that question, we certainly want to answer it, but just describe your relationship with the applicant, and we'll.
Sure. I'm Ellie Siegel, the CEO of Longview Strategic. We are a consulting firm based out of Marlton, New Jersey. We've been consulting to operators and family offices and investors in the cannabis industry since 2016, and specifically to Zacate, we've been working with them since the very start in New Jersey and assisted throughout the process of the local approvals, and I've met some of you along the way. But essentially, we're the New Jersey-focused consultant when it comes to the planning process, licensing, and moving through the local approvals.
And I think you heard the board member's question in terms of any studies relative to New Jersey and armed security guards and just.
Yeah, so this is it is something that the previous police chief was hesitant to endeavor upon as early as Delran moved into the opting in phase of their ordinance process and going forward with approvals. That said, I think the armed guard was more of a instinctual reaction to an early opt-in that, in a sense, because Delran was one of the earlier townships to come into the fold, there wasn't a ton of evidence and there wasn't a ton of shops at all in New Jersey to really refer to. To your point now, we've got years of operations. We've got operations of all types now, license types, including retail, cultivation, manufacturing, wholesale distribution, all over the state. there's not a significant study specifically that I can refer to. There is data, though, that's kept by the CRC, and the answer to the number of incidents is extremely low. It's realistically, the targets aren't as you would expect them to be. The retail shop has very little in it that's actually accessible to anybody that would be causing a problem or looking to, conduct any kind of theft or anything like that. It's very well protected, very well surveilled, and so by and large, in terms of being a target for either violence, theft, any of the things that you might think of would involve law enforcement or an armed guard, they just don't really happen in these shops. In terms of comparison points and things like that, we had talked to the previous chief of police before he retired, and then also to Chief Gasper, just about the other townships in the area, the other shops in the area. There isn't really an incident to point to throughout the entire state that raises flags amongst the law enforcement. And instead, I can actually say that I offer oftentimes to law enforcement and municipal stakeholders the ability to talk to neighboring towns, neighboring regions altogether, all the towns within them. You really would struggle to find an incident that rose to the level that law enforcement really was necessary. And by and large, by the ratio of retail dispensaries to incidents, it's actually lower than many of your normal businesses, that you would see, pizza shops and such, of that type that have cash on hand.
One question I think maybe somebody on the board members' minds, is that true of dispensaries with both armed security guards and not? Is it comparable, or is?
Yeah, so to be clear, the guard is really, whether they're armed or not, it's not that different than having an ambassador at the front that is going to still do the same age verification, the same preliminary, invitation of a customer happens in that interaction. And so they're not getting past that front entryway if they're not over 21, if they're not compliant with the CRC's regulations for entering the store, if they're acting in some way that causes threat or seems intimidating. There are panic buttons, there are procedures for that, and there is still a staff member that will have to greet every single person that's entering the store. So what we're saying between guard and staff member, ambassador, is a thin line there, because throughout the state, everyone has an ambassador that has to greet and has to do that ID check. Very infrequently is it what I would call a security guard. It's more of an ambassador or a representative.
Maybe a bad analogy, but basically a qualified Walmart-type greeter-type scenario who's also qualified to verify?
A little bit more, because they're qualified to verify that the person entering is compliant, and so they have to be able to do more than just greet, but they also have to know the SOPs around security, how to react if somebody does, come in and threaten anything intimidating or that seems out of the ordinary. So it's definitely more training and more awareness than I would say a Walmart greeter is expected to have.
Question?
Please.
What's the response time that you're aware of if something were to happen at one of your facilities? Why the police respond?
Very short, and I will tell you that.
What is the define very short? 10 minutes, 5 minutes, what?
So we haven't had the police have to respond, as far as I know, in a fashion that was emergent. Jen can speak to this, but I will tell you, it's down to what your Chief Gasper, would tell you is the time to get from that, wherever the police are, where they're stationed, to the shop. My understanding from them is that it's very fast.
Well, very fast there's no time with very fast. Again, is it 5 minutes, 10 minutes, what?
I'm not familiar with your police department's
All right,
response times, but that would be the township's police.
Piggyback on that, what SOP does your people follow if somebody comes in that threatens you and he may be armed? What do you tell them to do?
This is the manager of the store, so I'm going to let her speak directly to you.
All right, very well.
Yep. Or Eric, whichever you prefer.
Hi, I'm Jen. Yep. Delikas, Dalickkas. I do.
And Jen, just very quickly, you actually manage the store in question, correct?
Yes, day to day. Yep, I'm there. To answer your first question, it's about 5 to 8 minutes typically. We've had a faulty sensor, so they've been there within 5-8 minutes. We fixed that, obviously, but they were there very quickly. So like I said, 5 to 8 minutes about.
So 5 to 8 minutes is the norm?
Yeah, about there. And then to answer your other question, the SOPs, there is a silent alarm right next to them. They are told to not press that unless there's a violent occurrence. However, they're taught to not escalate the problem. So stay calm, talk to them calmly, try to de-escalate as much as possible. But if it gets to a point where they have to intervene or do that, then they can either press a silent alarm or call the non-emergency line, depending on how serious it is.
And Jen, you're describing the process, I think, more in layman's terms now, but there's actually a special training process that they have to go through.
Yes.
Before they can have the job, right?
Yes. All that training is required before they actually are allowed to even ring out on the floor. So we require all training before they start actually ringing.
And that training, I think, is run by the state, correct?
The state and us, the state mandates that we run that training. It's not through the state, but we have to run that, yeah.
Go ahead.
I was actually on scene for that alarm. So actually, the police department was there under 2 minutes, like a minute and a half, and the fire department was there probably about 3 to 4 minutes, the first truck on scene. So they're there pretty quick.
Yeah. No, our police department, our fire department, they're fantastic. So you're the day-to-day manager.
Yes.
Okay, can I ask you directly, how do you feel about not having an armed security guard in the building? You're there day-to-day.
Yeah, we haven't had any concerning incidents. To be honest with you, we feel pretty confident in the security cameras being there. I have cameras up in the back when I'm sitting in the back, which I usually am, and I'll have the cameras up. Just me personally, I don't know if other GMs do that, but I like to have them up just for safety purposes. So I'll look at them while I'm doing my work as well. So I feel pretty confident that, the response time and everything, if something were to happen, the police would be there pretty quickly, so.
That's all I have for Jen.
Any other questions from the board?
Yeah, I have a few more, but maybe not for Jen.
Okay.
So, thank you, Jen. I really just wanted your opinion. Who can I direct the question to? So, I was under the impression that we were going from an armed security guard down to a regular security guard. That was, is everybody else here, feels
So
exactly the
can
same?
we, in the discussions that were had with Chief Gasper, it was only discussed to remove the guard. And the specificity around that, being a security guard versus a staff member, I guess that my first question would be, what to you would be the distinction in that?
Well, I think the distinction was initially when we had all talked, and the conversations that we had, the way it was brought to us was there was an armed guard versus just having a regular security guard. Now we're talking maybe a staff member. So that brings me to another question. If we're going to be if you're going to be putting a staff member up front, my question is this: if you have 3 people on staff, will you now have 4? Or is that third person, where normally there would be an armed security guard, are they going to become the front person and now only 2 people are operating the facility on the inside?
So that I would defer to Eric, because you probably are working with the new scheduling.
The intent is to have a new position filled for a front door.
For a front door.
Whatever you want to call them,
greeter.
a
So
greeter.
you wouldn't be taking someone away from
No,
staff, so you wouldn't be
someone is-
short-staffing.
no.
This would be somebody dedicated, focused, up front, just like the armed security guard, even though it's not a security
Correct.
guard.
The goal would be to have the same number of bodies in the store as we do today with an armed security guard, except that armed security guard is a staff member of the store.
Okay. And I think one of my major concerns is going to be the training of that person up front. I mean, I think they need to be a little bit better than a bouncer at a bar.
Well,
I know we said Walmart greeter.
Well, I was trying to flesh out exactly the role that person played. I even said, I think that's a bad analogy, and I think
Yeah.
it was testified to that it's much more than that. And why don't you dive into, just to address the mayor's concerns?
Sure.
Dive into some of the training that that individual has to go through.
Well,
to kind of-
yeah, I just want to be clear that the training that's mandated by the CRC for all employees includes all security measures in place at the dispensary. So Jen is trained on those as much as a bud tender, a front, a cashier, inventory. Every one of these employees in the store gets the same training on security measures.
Okay.
And so it's not to say that this person, this new front door greeter, would need to have more training, but certainly, I think Jen, in her capacity as a manager, is going to hire for this position, right? And I would put it to her, the reason that we brought her to the meeting today instead of just bringing corporate is because it does matter to us too, what she thinks, because she is the one who's in there watching this store for us every day.
Okay.
So it's important to me that we get the right person for that position as well.
So let me ask you this, and I don't want to put words in your mouth, but so correct me if I'm wrong. I think you're effectively saying that we are going to have an individual there who effectively plays the role of the security guard. That individual is simply not going to be armed.
Correct, it's access control. It's
Okay,
the
and
same thing.
that's kind of what it was brought to us, that's how it was presented to us initially. And of course, the other training is noticing that somebody might not be the right person to come through the door.
That's correct.
So that's something that is going to be relied on for you, is making sure that that person doesn't let somebody come in that's wearing a hoodie and obviously got their hands in their pockets and may present themselves in an aggressive manner and stopping them at the door. I mean, we see a lot of security for the product. I've heard a lot of security for the product. My concern is the people. So I'm good.
Any other questions from the board?
Wasn't the stipulation was 6 months or out?
Yeah, that was the initial discussion, we were discussing a 6-month,
The 1-year trial?
6-month to 1-year trial.
Yeah, basically, if there's no incidents in 6 months, you don't have to, basically, it would be on a trial basis to relieve the obligation, but if there was an incident within this 6-month period, you'd have to bring the security guard back.
Could we make that so instead of like just a 6 months, like say every year we do a review? If there's an incident, then we can change our decision one way or the other?
See what they say.
Well, and here's what I would say. I would be more comfortable if we did a review at a time period certain, just to see how things have gone, right? Because I understand what you guys are saying, like if there's an incident, we're going to take this away from you. But I would hope that we would review it, and if the incident were something that we would all agree is not, necessarily to remove that condition, then we could keep it in place. I don't want to walk out of here saying, oh, if anything happens in this trial period, we're going to take that away, because we can't sit here and know what that incident's going to be, right? And it's going to be too hard for us to say what type of incident, or we'll call it some specific incident. So if we came back for a review after a time period certain, that might be something we could be agreeable to.
Yeah, I think that, like we discussed, was the 6-month and the review, and also, obviously, you guys are not going to be the only establishment coming in here asking for this same thing. So we do need to take into consideration that maybe they don't have an issue, maybe the other one does. So I just kind of want everybody to keep in mind that this is, you guys are, right, we're affecting more than one. It's not just going to be you. Obviously, we have another establishment that's looking to move into town, and I think we have one more.
Yeah, there'll be a total of 4, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay,
Once they're
so I
all
just
up and
asked that the
running.
board just consider, all of the factors as far as, like, we're looking at the 6 months, and maybe you guys don't have an incident and the other place does. We have to review that, we have to revisit it.
We already still have the resolution in place that new business coming in with their security, they have armed
They have to-
security. They have to have
they have
armed
to have it.
security for a period of time before they come in front of us. So
Okay.
this is totally separate from that. So we still have that in place for the next 3 that comes in front of us, that they know that they have to have the armed security and then go for the review afterwards.
Okay.
I mean, part of the impetus for having all this security is because cannabis is still considered Schedule 1, meaning that it's very largely a cash business, and you can use debit cards, I understand. But the fact that there's a lot of cash involved makes it different than any normal retail. And that's part of the reason why you have the security to begin with, so.
And I think the applicant would be agreeable to, whether it's 6 months to a year, we would of course hope for a year, but if it's the board's pleasure to say 6 months, understood. I think the only thing that the applicant was trying to clarify is, and doing my job for me pretty much, is when you say incident, I think we're just looking for a little clarification as to what constitutes an incident that then brings us back to say, okay, we need to discuss having an armed guard there again, because, you know, in any business, and I know this as being a former public defender in Ocean County, incidents vary drastically between individual businesses. Wawa has a number of incidents with minor shoplifting very consistently, as do many other stores. So I think that's kind of what we're looking for, is just whatever the term, that the term incident simply be a little, have some little level of specificity so that it's not anything, including a trip, you know, something that happens accidentally like it did last time, triggers the requirement that, okay, now we need to reevaluate. I think that's all the applicant would be requesting in connection with that. But the actual request that we come back in 6 months to a year, to the extent to them basically say there's been no incidents, that's something we would agree to, of course.
Yeah, I think we're gonna need specifics on that. Obviously, if somebody falls in the place, that's not an incident.
No, sure.
But, you know,
I think major incidents like robbery or the brawl
Would-
breaking out in the store.
With the commission of a crime, basically
Crime.
the attempted or completed commission of a crime, I think would be probably,
I
okay,
think that would be fair.
perfect, okay.
Yeah,
You
you
commission
can't
a
hold
crime
an alarm
like that,
system and stuff like
not
that.
a 20-year-old trying to get in as you know.
Right, you don't need an armed
fake
security
ID.
guard for
We're not talking about
shoplifters.
fake ID.
Yeah, that's exactly.
Fake ID,
Point-
shoplifters, we get that.
Understood. Sure, no, please, please.
Business hours, I'm just curious, if the guard wouldn't have been, if the store is non-operational, I just want to understand if it's in the night, right? Is that an incident that would cause you to?
No, because there's
No,
no
that's,
security guard.
there's no security guard there. That's
Perfect.
not.
I just wanted to follow through on the thinking there, make sure we understand. I don't expect this incident to occur at all, and so that's the only reason we're clarifying. It's great, thank you.
Okay.
Anybody else have any questions?
All right, seeing that there's no more questions from the board, entertain a motion to approve the amendment of condition of approval of resolution PP 2023-04.
Yeah, we still.
Oh. My apologies. Okay. Motion to open it to the public.
Second.
All approved? Aye? Nays? Okay, it's open to the public.
I have to say my name again?
Yes?
Michael Sichenko. Do I have to spell it?
Yes, please.
Sienczzenko.
Michael, you're still under.
You're still under.
So, okay. Because this kind of pertains to the other business that's coming in, with this, nobody mentioned as far as security for the outside, for the loiterers, the people that are in a parking lot, the people that are doing things in a parking lot. If you're all inside the building, nobody's outside maintaining, or is somebody going to leave the building, put themselves at risk to take care of an issue outside the property or outside the building?
Michael, there's not a dispensary in New Jersey that requires an outside security guard.
Okay, but if something is happening in the parking lot, is it not their duty to take care of it?
They have cameras to monitor that, and maybe if the applicant wishes to address it.
Yep.
Yeah, we've had situations.
Come on, would you come up to the mic, please?
Yeah.
Hello, Jen Delicus. We've had incidences where people are smoking in their car, but we go out and ask them to please leave. We've never had an issue with anyone, giving us a problem. They've always been okay to leave. We say, hey, you're on camera. And they go, okay, and then they leave. So we really haven't had any issues. Like I said, if there is an issue, we go out and ask them to leave.
But we're back to this again.
I'm gonna ask one other question while you're there. If, let's say somebody's getting high outside.
Yes.
And all of a sudden, let's say he decides to rob somebody in your parking lot.
Yes.
What do you do in that situation? Are you involved or you're not?
In that situation, I would go immediately inside and call the police. Yeah.
But wanted to make sure what's the responsibility for them.
They pretty much just said what I said from the get-go. I mean, they're going to do it on the property regardless.
But if they do, that's why I was asking that question as well, so.
Okay. But they don't, I don't know how this works with y'all, but I know when you have to dispose of product and such, do you have a company that comes in, it's a security company, to remove that property?
Well, that's not really part of the application, but I believe.
Well, it is still a security issue.
Wait, if I can finish. My understanding is disposing of cannabis product is different than disposing of the trash and the regular paperwork associated with operating a retail business. That has to be disposed of in accordance with the CCRC regulations by a private hauler, licensed to deal with that.
Okay.
Any other people from the public that wish to address the board? Seeing no hands, I entertain a motion to close to the public. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Ayes have it. Now, we're going to entertain a motion for approval of the amendment to condition of approval for resolution PP 2023-04 regarding the armed security guard.
And in that process of making the motion, you can add a condition such as the 6-month trial period, if that's the way you want to go. And defining an incident as commission of a crime, that could be added on to it if you wish.
Very, very quickly, it's just, again, a simple matter of clarification. Either answer is fine. When you say 6-month trial, does that mean we're coming back in 6 months regardless, or only if there's an incident? That's, again, either answer is fine. We just want to know for sure if we're coming back in 6 months.
I'm going to be, I would like to see you guys back here in 6 months.
Okay, understood.
I would rather see, come back in 6 months and then like continually, like every, maybe after the 6 months, then maybe every year you come back, not just a one and done.
Well, that's something we can talk to at the 6-month review. I think the important thing right now is, obviously, 6 months. I'd like to see a review here if we go forward with this. I'm gonna say I am hesitant about not having not an armed security guard, but somebody that is a security guard, which was what our initial impression was.
And I agree.
Security officer.
Obviously, yeah. So,
Can I ask you a question?
absolutely.
Is this a money thing, and why are you asking for this?
So it's more an issue of the fact that it's not germane to the business, and at the outset, when it was set in as a condition, it's tough now, of course, because the police chief has retired, but it was always intended to be something that was revisited. When we sat around and talked about this a couple of years ago, it was more a reaction to just a lack of evidence. And so at that time, we discussed that it is not something that is widely done because, to your point, it is very expensive. We are not here just to save money, though. We are here from the standpoint of it's a role that you, by and large, don't see in other townships at dispensaries. It's a role that isn't necessary, and I'm sure this pilot time will prove out that nothing will change than what you've seen in the last year and a half. And from that standpoint, the reason it's not more widely done is because it's a role that is basically not necessary. If we thought we needed to protect the staff, if we thought we needed to protect the other consumers in the store. If we thought there was a reason to have a security guard, I assure you, we would want to protect the staff and the people inside just as much. And to that point, the SOPs are centered around safety of life, protecting human life, and all of those things. So we are very focused on the safety of our staff. And it's just a reality of business that we have to also be focused on the bottom line in order to keep the staff employed. So from that standpoint, I can't tell you that there's no element of this that involves, money, but it is not the pressing concern. It was something from the start that we kind of took on as a burden in this township, knowing the position of the chief of police at the time, but not ever expecting to have to maintain that in perpetuity.
So, So that's going to bring me to this question, because I originally, like I said, I had asked the question, are you going to be bringing the staff number down, the number of people? So now, examining the cost of having an armed security guard maybe here versus who you're going to put in here.
Correct.
And I know you don't have that number, but it sounds to me like what you're saying is that number is so big that this is something that you guys need to enact.
It's more of just an overall staff management. It is much preferred to have that as a staff member and not an outside third party.
Okay, so this is an
vendor.
outside contractor coming in, so you want to keep it more in-house, somebody you hired personally, rather than a temp or someone that you don't know.
Correct. Instead of having to use a third-party vendor because it's specifically an armed security guard, we'd much prefer to have it be a member of the staff that is, as Eric said, all are trained on security. This one would be positioned specifically at the door with a role responsible for making sure that everything is followed to a T with respect to the SOPs around security and controlling the space. So, I mean, it really is an access control role, and we would be filling it. I mean, if you go to shops around New Jersey, you'll see frequently it is a person of larger stature. Frequently, it is a person that is smiling and very hospitable and not carrying a weapon.
Which was going to be one of my next things, is it something, do you find that maybe your clients are a little intimidated walking through the door, seeing somebody with a gun?
That's why I say it. You
I'm not saying
can
that
have the
I'm not saying
person be someone who can respond accordingly and still be very friendly and very hospitable, because that's what people want in a retail experience. But then, taking that a step further, to your point, when there's a weapon, that is, to some people, just intimidating to begin with. Even if they've never thought of committing a crime, when they're interacting with somebody, it makes it more formal. It makes it more like they should feel like they're more, on guard. This is a high-end retail experience, so at the end of the day, we want the customer to feel comfortable, to feel like, they're coming to a shop where people know their name, and that interaction at the front door is normally about both security, which is that access control part, and hospitality, because you want them to have a great experience, come back again and again. And it's just not the same exact outcome that you get when you have an armed guard there for that role.
Okay, and when you guys submitted your security plan, I know you gave it to Chief Casper and Chief Mitchell, was the training of this person that you were looking to put up front part of that security program?
Yes, the training of the staff is all in the security plan, and there was also...
He reviewed, just wanted to make sure that we're clear that Chief Gasper was able to review what the training was going to be for the person that you're essentially replacing.
So that specific training for that front desk person wasn't in the actual security plan. They're training protocols and scripts, right? I don't know that he's seen the actual training.
And that's something.
We can, but that's not in the plan. It's how they will be trained and who will, it's not the actual training that's in there.
Okay,
I think that is.
but how
something
they
we
will
would-
be trained, so they'll be trained in, just give me an example. I would like to take the job.
Sure, Jen.
I'm going to be trained in verbal Aikido.
Well, one thing I
that's
think,
a thing.
just very quickly, what I think we can do, we can certainly provide that training to the chief to say, listen, this is the actual individual training that every staff member, including and especially the ambassador at the door, is going to get take a look at this
Yeah.
and see, and we'd be open to.
There'd be no problem with, I mean, we're going to have that person trained, so they're going to follow that, and he can certainly review it. And also, I wanted to circle back to one thing as well that maybe you're not all aware of. In the submission to Chief Mitchell, which we then resubmitted to Chief Gasper after Chief Mitchell's retirement, it also included the average cash on hand and other data about the operation of the store in the time that it's been operating that was very specific about, I can't speak to it being for all cannabis operations in Delran because it wasn't. It was just specific to this operation. But it was the security plan along with maybe 4 or 5 different data sets like that to help express how the day-to-day really looks so that he could have an understanding of that when he was considering this.
I have one other question in regards to both of what you said. As far as, no, I just forgot what I was going to say. It had, yeah, had to do with the security guard. Oh, you mentioned about the security guard. It seemed like you were saying that it was unique. Most places don't have security guards.
Throughout the entire state, if you
That's what I
take the whole number, it's less common that there is an armed security guard by far. In terms of the role at the front for access control, 100% there is always a person there. We can call it a guard, we can call it an ambassador, you could call it reception if you wanted to diminish the nature of the access control. But we could just as easily call it the front door guard, because their job is to check ID, to, do all those things. So that person is always there in every store.
No, but my question is, though, is it a security type person, though, or is it an employee of that store? So my big question is, what is the norm, or
Yeah,
I'll say?
the norm is that it's an employee of the store, and how they're dressed, or the stature of the person hired, or the way that they greet the customers is, up to the particular store, and that changes, but it's by and large, as often as you can check it. I don't know an exact ratio, but you'll find that it's much more often an employee of the store.
Ellie, would it be fair to say that, I think to answer that question, is it a guard or is it an employee? I think in this case, you could probably say it's both.
That's the role.
Okay,
Yeah, I
so
mean, that's my
that's
point,
why-
is
and
like,
that's where I really-
to make the distinction, when I said earlier, how do we make this distinction? It's hard, because I'm of small stature, but I could know
No, I just
jujitsu,
wondered if there
aikido,
was
I could
something
name,
you do.
set 10 things that, like, maybe I was trained in,
Right.
that you wouldn't perceive, that, it's tough to discern what the level of training would be in an ambassador or a guard. But from that standpoint, it's the person whose role it is to control the access to the store. So that's an important role, and they would be trained accordingly.
That's a nice way of her saying she could probably beat me up.
I was going to say, it's probably situational, because some of the eastern towns in Burlington County
So
are
that's,
patrolled by state police. They don't have a local police force. In that situation, you may want someone who's actually got real security training vis-a-vis this, you have local police, so.
and it just depends. I mean, I can tell you, I have a borough exactly like that, that's state police, that they did not require my client there to have a guard at all, and it was never required, and it wasn't a thing that they.
That's unusual, because my town I live in, we don't even have any banks, because we have no state, we have state police protection.
Oh, that's really interesting. I will say this, in that scenario, it is interesting because there isn't like a chief of police to consult with. But here, like I said, it really was about the specific chief of police, Chief Mitchell's, lack of the prerequisite data at the time to feel comfortable making the decision to have no guard. And the truth is, time has rolled forward. We presented the data, and I think from Chief Gasper's email, he is not opposed to removal of the guard. And the discussion that we had was about removing the armed guard, removing the guard. I apologize if there was confusion in the relay of the information, but it was always intended that it was the removal of the armed guard to be replaced with a staff member serving in the access control role.
So I had a question, and I understand what you guys are trying to get at, just an idea of presenting to customers and also the liability of risk of having armed security, even though they are insured, it's just another thing that could portray into your business. That being said, removing altogether and having someone as just an ambassador, I think is great, but some kind of training in place. Now, I know this is a gray area for all of us in the state. This is all a new thing. And Chris, I wanted to ask you if you knew something about this. Is there a similar sort of training for security personnel in the lines of like, for maybe like surf safe, food safety, and or like a bartender training where someone has like a national and or state level guideline to follow every few years they have to renew their certification, and that kind of employee has to be on premises. That gives you the ability to then hire your own staff, don't have to outsource the work, but at least then the person there has some kind of training that is standardized, not in-house.
Not that I'm aware of, probably the closest industry where you might have it is a bank. And
And
I don't think you don't see security guards in banks.
I would say to your point, the authority, the body is the regulatory body. It's the Cannabis Control Commission. And so the CRC here in New Jersey doesn't do a certification that would be hey, you've gotten your training, so now you have this, but they give what's called an agent badge. And they only give those badges to people who have been trained. And as Jen described, and Eric both, they have to get the training at all levels of employment to meet those CRC guidelines. So I would say to you, the one thing that I can tell you is even if there's not another authority, every employee in the shop has that agent badge, that employee badge, and that employee badge is only issued through a process that begins with the employer starting a process. It includes fingerprinting, it includes, a background check, and so that agent badge isn't issued quickly or easily, and it also includes, to be compliant, that they receive the full breadth of training, including on security.
Okay, but you're the one who administers this. It's not the CRC that comes out and does that.
Correct. We have to tell them what the training is and was, and we have to basically report back on the training. And they have access to the cameras and the feeds just like the police here do. And so they could check in on that or ask to be able to see anything at any time.
Okay. Now, I only brought this up just as like it'd be maybe a better thing to put everyone at ease, thinking that even though it may just be a third party doing this, at least you can say, yes, this person has been trained, and we've had this third party verify that they are able to do these duties while they're in the store.
Yeah, I understand. And I do think the closest thing that we've got is the CRC and that process of badging and, verifying the information related to an employee and then following on with the necessary training.
So I think if we could boil it down, Ellie, to two things. What we're seeking to remove here tonight is the need to have a third party at the door with a gun. I think that's kind of, if we could boil it down to two things that we're removing here tonight, that's what we're doing. So effectively, would you think it would be fair to say there will be a guard at the door, it's simply going to be an employee as opposed to a third party?
I'm most comfortable saying there will be an employee whose role it is to handle access control. And I don't want to use the word guard just to avoid the confusion that brought us here, because clearly that word, I think, led to some confusion. But I think to clarify completely, it would be an employee, and they would be very responsible for that access control.
Would you have an issue with whoever you hire and train to do this, them having our police chief check on them to make sure that he feels that they're qualified for it after they're trained? So I think if the chief thinks it's good, then it's good.
Good.
Then I would feel safer if this person, the chief says, yeah, he's ready for it.
I think the only concern with that would be, and if the applicant thinks I'm wrong, they can certainly shut me up. It almost makes the chief of police a bit like he's the one hiring, I think, a little bit. It's almost like the chief of police is now getting into the hiring practices.
Well, we can always
If he's
use
saying
third
he's
party and then
the
somebody
individu-
else is.
No, certainly, I'm aware of that, but then it gets to the point where is this individual big, no, go ahead, I'm sorry.
So if the chief is going to verify training, we would say he could verify training of every employee in the shop.
We're really only looking at whoever's going to be at the door, because they're going to get trained.
Absolutely. And from that standpoint, the answer is yes. And to go further, I think, you know, it would be every employee would be trained to be responsive in situations related to security where there's any threat. So if he wanted
Are you going
to.
to rotate all your employees in at the front door? Is that what you're doing?
I don't think
We're
that's the
talking about
intention, but I
person
think they're
front
all
door.
trained. And so from the standpoint of if he wanted to ask them the steps, they're all trained on every step. So from that point, I don't think the intention is to have it rotating, but if he wanted to interview any of them and talk to them about the security procedures, we would be fine
No,
with that.
and I can quickly clarify, it's absolutely not the applicant's intention to rotate. The ambassador is going to be the ambassador.
Because
Right, that's
the only
gonna be
thing
their
we're talking
job
about
title.
here is the person at the door. That's what I'm asking. Is it okay that the chief verifies that
If
he
he
feels that
vets
they're trained?
Sure, if he wants to come by and see the process and see if it feels, you know, suitable, it will be compliant to the CRC, so we know it will be suitable. I'm comfortable, you know, with him coming by and
Because
verifying it.
As someone here, I mean, I was in a meeting with you, with our old city administrator, and, you know, it was just taking away the arm part of the guard.
Mm-hmm.
You know, now you come before us, and now you're talking about hiring your own, which is not what we thought this was. So
Okay.
I'm trying to make myself feel a little bit more comfortable.
Absolutely.
About going this route.
Yeah.
That's why I want to make sure that the chief is okay with who you're putting
Sure.
there versus hiring a third party that's already trained. And I think a lot of people here feel the same way.
Sure. And from the standpoint of if there was confusion even at that meeting with the prior administration, the intention was always to have this be no longer an outside party by nature of, you know, the scheduling and the third-party nature of it, it becomes difficult. And in terms of the armed part of it, 100% we're all on the same page that was the intention. I think it was maybe just confusion around, a lot of, to be honest with you, a lot of my clients call that position either the guard or, you know, something that it's a term that's used very frequently, and it's the role, you know, it doesn't normally include the notion that there's separate training, but I think from the standpoint of making sure that that guard at that door is trained and ready, we will be doing that for sure, and if the police chief, you know, wants to come by and check it out and vet it, and if there's anything he feels that guard, you know, that person, ambassador, whatever we want to call them, could do, you know, differently, we're open to input from him as well. I mean, if there's something that he thinks could be done better, we can always alter an SOP to make that change.
Okay. Personally, I agree with Bill Luneman. Was my impression from the discussion, not specifically with you, but concerning the cannabis shops, is that they were going to be replacing an armed security guard with an unarmed security guard, or big guy. And that was what the question I had from the very beginning when you started. And then Chris Norman said something that struck a bell, that when I go into the local TD Bank, there's no armed security guard sitting there. And they certainly deal with a lot of cash. So, any other questions, comments from the board? All right, I had opened it up, but I will now ask for a motion to approve the amendment of condition of approval for resolution PP 2023-04. And I'm sure Mr. Norman will have some additions that will be included in the, so do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Before you make the motion, you gotta know what the stipulations
Okay, what are
Yes,
stipulations?
stipulations.
Yes, with a stipulation.
The stipulation is you'd have to report back in 6 months, I guess.
In-person report.
In-person report, let's say April, is April, or April meeting, which is 6 months out. And also provide ambassador training report to the chief, and that the chief may provide further insight as needed to the applicant.
And
Agreed.
The incident.
And the incident thing, which is defined as A criminal act, not,
Criminal
not,
act.
not minor stuff.
All right, with that proviso, do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second?
I'll second.
I'm gonna need a roll call.
Mr. Lumen?
Yes.
Mr. Parento?
Yes.
Mr. Giles?
Yes.
Mr. Ozdemir?
Yes.
Mr. Moore?
Yes.
Mr. Spitch?
No.
Mr. Buzzy?
No.
Mayor Hutchins?
I'm going to abstain.
Abstain. And Mr. Paris?
I'm going to abstain.
Okay, the application's been approved. The abstentions by law go with the majority. There are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 affirmative votes to approve and 2 noes, so the application's been approved.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, I'd like to see if we can get a motion to open to the public.
So moved.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Ayes have it. Now open to the public. Not seeing anybody from the public that wants to say anything, motion to close to the public.
So moved. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Ayes have it. Seeing that's the end of our business, and motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Second?
All in favor? Aye. All opposed? All right, meeting is over. Thank you.